I've rolled.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us for another episode or installment of Anchors Away. Certainly hope everyone had a happy and safe Thanksgiving. A lot of folks here did. I think everyone here did, pretty much. Yeah. Panel is here with us, minus Ashley. She has got other duties to take care of, but Mallory's here. And Keith, you guys have a great Thanksgiving?
Wonderful.
Sure, I had 2 Thanksgiving dinners on Thanksgiving Day.
Oh, boy.
At home, and then they got a big Thanksgiving spread here on Thanksgiving Day.
So bonus.
So I'm turkeyed out.
It's time to move on.
Love it.
Real quick, I want to show you the lineup things we're going to be talking about today. We're going to have the debate. This is a tough one, not the mayoral debate. We'll get to that time. Real or fake Christmas trees. You know, it's one of those things that you have some people that they're staunchly real, staunchly fake. We'll get to that. On to another debate, mayoral debate that happened at KRK this week. We'd like your feedback on this, and also we'll let you know where you can also take a look at that if you haven't seen it. And this is something else we're going to talk about, immigration coverage, or more or less the caravan, non-caravan coverage that's been happening on our southern border. We're going to get into that, some of the things that we've seen, some things you may have seen, and just kind of our basic take on that. So let's go ahead and get this real or fake Christmas tree, the important stuff, out of the way. Which you guys prefer?
We use artificial. I don't like to say fake.
Okay, artificial.
Because it is a
Mallory?
Christmas tree.
So we do artificial, but I love the tradition. I grew up with real Christmas trees, and it was actually a tradition that my dad and I went to a Christmas tree lot in Russellville, Arkansas, and I can't remember what store it was in front of. It was across from the Western Sizzling.
Hold that thought, because when it comes down to the debate,
what is it?
Nobody holds Christmas traditions more sacred than Clark Griswold.
Oh, yes.
There it is. The Griswold family Christmas tree.
Isn't it a little big?
It's not big, it's just full.
Dad, that thing wouldn't fit in our yard.
Not going in our yard, Russ. It's going in our living room. Look at it.
It really is beautiful, Clark.
Something else, huh, Russ?
Yeah, Dad.
Isn't it a beaut, Audrey?
She'll see it later, honey. Her eyes are frozen.
Most enduring traditions of the season are best enjoyed in the warm embrace of kiss.
I just think of the sap. You know when they get back on the sap.
Yeah, they get the thing on the car and they go there. But go ahead now, pick up where you are. The real Christmas tree. When you were a kid.
In Russellville, there was a Christmas tree farm. It was in the lot of a parking lot across from the Western Sizzling, you know, specific like that. Anyway, and every year we went and picked out a Christmas tree, and I loved it, and it was an amazing tradition, but now we do fake. So someday I'm going to get
Or as Keith would say, artificial.
Artificial. It's not fake. What about you?
Because it is a Christmas tree. We have kind of a tradition that, growing up, it started out as real. This is back in the early 70s, mid 70s. We'd always go out and get one, but we wouldn't cut it down like that. We would, because we lived in the suburbs, so we had to go to like Sears would have in the parking lot. We'd pick one out, and that was always great. And then we'd decorate it, and then then you've got the hassle of watering it, making sure that it stays moist, which is a safety issue. Then my parents got the point, said, let's get an artificial tree. Poof, pop it out of the box. There it goes. You decorate it. It's all good to go. Close it up, put it in the attic, and you're good.
It's easier.
So, but now we have just about a tree in every room, but we always have in one room a real tree.
Oh.
We take care of it. So we kind of mix and match everything like that.
And the smell, there's nothing that beats the smell of a real Christmas tree.
But they have it in a can now. You can spray it around the house.
You can.
No, we used to do that. We used to go out, when my daughter was younger, we used to go out and cut down a tree. Not quite like the Griswolds, but we would.
No one's quite like
we would just go out into an actual Christmas tree farm, and we would pick a tree and cut it down. And then they have, the hay rides and the hot chocolate, and you have the whole experience.
So it's a lot of fun.
There's
a lot more that comes with the actual tree.
It's the experience. And then strapping it to the car. If I ever see a car that has Christmas trees strapped on, it just makes you smile so much. But I feel like it's more rare than it used to be.
It is, I think so. And I remember when I first started living on my own, I lived in Arizona, like Yuma, southern Arizona. And big thing was I couldn't be with my family because, we work holidays and that's just the way it was. So I went and got a real Christmas tree. And, and you're a single guy, you're working all the time, and I put the tree up, had it decorated, and, and it was great. And, and I was, first job, so you're not making a lot of money. Eventually, when I had money where I could get cable, and I had cable installed, the cable guy came to install cable, and he walks in he walks in my apartment, and he said, "What is that?" I said, "It's my Christmas tree." And he kind of looks at me and he installs the cable and he walks out and he's like, "Happy Easter." Because I had left it up there till like late March. I just didn't take it out. It was one of those things. So you've got to, there are safety issues with the tree. That was probably the most unsafe thing I've ever done inside an apartment. It is.
Whatever you do, just do it with your family and it's all good.
Keith always brings it. That's exactly.
Yeah.
Always have a lot of fun, make traditions, enjoy the old ones or make new ones. Another thing we want to talk about, debate happened here at KRK this week. Important debate because we are now in a situation where we've got two candidates in a runoff for mayor of Little Rock. Little Rock is certainly a city that's seen its ups and downs. It may be someplace right now where it needs to go this way or that way, depending upon the population, where we're going economically. Both the candidates very sharp.
Absolutely. And this is a great opportunity to hear from both of them because I think there are still a lot of people who may be undecided at this point or maybe had voted for Warwick Saban and are trying to decide who to vote for at this point. So this is a great opportunity. If it's already aired at this point, to go anytime this week and watch it to see how they feel on those issues. But, I heard someone say you can't go wrong with the candidates. We have, even when there were three, we have three excellent candidates.
It's a good problem for Little Rock voters to have.
Yes.
It's one of those things. But yeah, you can see that debate at krk.com. And it's a good thing to kind of refresh yourself on some of the new things that may have been brought up. Keith, you and I both live outside of Little Rock. What are some of the things that you hear about people's perception of Little Rock?
Well, before I moved here, I was scared. I mean, really, Little Rock has a horrible reputation, unfounded.
Right.
But across the country is this racially charged, violent city, and it's in no means like that. And I think, and it's helped us. I mean, when we moved here, we kept an open mind, and I'm glad we did because Little Rock is nothing like it's portrayed.
Yeah, it gets a bad rap.
Yeah, it gets a very bad rap. Arkansas in general gets a bad rap.
Yeah,
I think Arkansas is one of the best kept secrets in the country.
I know.
So don't tell
anybody.
I mean, we have.
We're going to embargo this outside.
We have controlled growth economically, so we don't have boom and bust cycles. We have a smaller population. We don't have huge urban centers, and we have everything you need. And rush hour in Little Rock is a breeze compared to some other places that are bigger cities. And you don't, when you're traveling on I-30, and it's something I notice every day when I come to work and every day when I go home, you hit 65th Street and it's like all trees. I mean, we go from a cityscape to a rural area very quickly. And, Arkansas, even Little Rock, Arkansas is just a conglomeration of small towns. And even Little Rock is, I think, a small town.
It's like Chicago, they call it a city of neighborhoods.
Which is a good thing. You don't want sprawling, uncontrolled urban growth. You want the character to stay. And I think Little Rock is a great place.
And that's probably a thing that a lot of people are looking into the mayor. They want someone to maintain that nuance of Little Rock. But Little Rock does get a bad rap. So does Arkansas. A lot of my friends that come here from out of state and they visit, the first thing they say is, I had no idea. This is so pretty. Then I tell them, go back home and don't tell anybody what you've seen here.
Right. You can keep coming back. But the other thing I'm going to say, in runoff elections, don't let 15 or 20% of the population decide who the mayor is going to be.
Everybody get out.
We had, a really good turnout in this, midterm election cycle. Great turnout in Little Rock for the mayoral election. And runoffs traditionally just get tiny percentages of the voting age or the registered voter population. So get out there and vote. You can't. It has been made so easy. Bob, you and I grew up in the day where you didn't have early voting. You either were at your poll.
You voted on election day.
Or, like I was in the military, I had to request an absentee ballot, and it was not an easy process. I mean, it was easy, but there was no internet, there was no emails. It was like you had to request a ballot, and so we've made it easier to vote. So take advantage of that, and don't let just a small percentage of the people decide your future fate.
And voting by absentee back then too, when I was in college in the 80s and did it, you had to do your research in many different ways, because you couldn't just get on the internet and figure everything out, because there are local races you wanted to decide too,
Right.
so you had to really do your homework. Something that's being tossed around a lot is the issue of immigration and the caravan that some news outlets called not a caravan, others said no, it's a caravan. Eventually a portion of these thousands of people coming up from Central and South America and Mexico made it to the Mexican border, and there was a clash this week. The coverage of it got interesting in a point where there was a picture that everyone seen. We're not going to show it here, but a woman and child and a smoking tear gas canister. Your first impression of that picture?
Oh, well, when you see that picture as a mama, I mean, it makes your heart, it makes you tugs at your heart. You don't want anyone to be in pain. You don't want anyone to be sick. You don't want anyone to be hungry. It's a very complicated issue, though. I mean, it's very, very complicated issue.
No,
It is in a
no.
sense, but
I'm gonna chime in.
before I break the glass on Keith, it's interesting because all of a sudden, and there were so many media outlets saying nothing's going to happen. This is calling it a ploy by the Trump administration, and then the Trump administration said no, it's there, and some news outlets covered it, said it's happening, and then we're up, down, we don't know what's happening, and then all of a sudden there's a bunch of people at the border. They make a rush to the border. Border agents did what they have done in many years past, is
Yes.
they'll lob some tear gas canisters over there to keep folks just calm. And a lot of people said that it's full of women and children, and there was a report I saw on MSNBC, the reporter that was in the thick of it said the majority of them are men.
Yes.
Working age men. So you've got to kind of balance this whole thing with a lot of the coverage. And immigration is a tricky issue. Keith, you
No, it's not a tricky issue, Bob. It's not a
there's the
tricky issue.
photograph.
These are heart-wrenching photos, but immigration is not a tricky issue. The United States, everybody goes, hey, we're a nation of immigrants. Yes, we are. And prior to the 1960s, when immigrants came to America, and we'll go back to our ancestors that came into America through Ellis Island, there was a process. You came to America, and back then, you had to be what America kind of embodies: self-sufficient, initiative, a go-getter.
You weren't guaranteed entry.
Right, and also, what's changed today is the welfare system that has developed since the 60s that our country can't afford to do anymore for the whole world. You go to any doctor, let's say a mental health doctor, and they will tell you, take care of yourself first before you could take care of others. There are lots of people in our nation that need help. There are homeless. There are veterans with mental illness.
There are children here starving.
There are poor folks. You got to take care of our folks first. And then you could help other people. And number two, immigration is not a tricky issue. We have laws. And we're a nation of laws. That's what makes a nation is a sovereign border. There's a process for allowing people in. And secondly, as these groups of people came up through Mexico, Mexico offered them asylum. And they refused it. Most of them did. And if they were fleeing political persecution, Mexico, and that's basically the kind of the policy of the three nations in North America, you're supposed to take asylum at the first safe nation, and that would have been Mexico. And what you don't see in a lot of these pictures, and what we saw what happened in Europe a few years ago with the waves of uncontrolled immigrants from fleeing the Civil War, which is probably more appropriate for asylum issues, but you're seeing the number of military-age men that are out there in these groups, and that in front of them a lot of times they will put the picture folks.
Yeah.
I don't want to be cold about it. I just want to say that we have laws, and there is not an immigration crisis. There is not. We don't need to fix our immigration system. We just need to follow the laws that have been in place for 50 years.
And like you say, because my grandfather immigrated here from Denmark in the early, I think it was 1911. So things weren't great there. Came over on a ship in steerage, and got here. And worked and became a successful businessman in Chicago, excavator. He was in the construction business, but never taught my dad or his brother how to speak English, or Danish rather. And he said, because I'm in this country, I'm going to speak English. And I may have said it here before. He goes, because I owe it to these people who let me become an American citizen to do everything I can to live the way they're living. And then eventually lost it all during the Depression. But then again, too, because he had that work ethic, didn't go on the dole or whatever it was back then, wasn't as much welfare, but he went back to work doing something.
And after that big surge of immigration back in the early 1900s, the United States actually pretty much shut down immigration for at least 20, 30 years because they wanted to give a chance for the new immigrants to get assimilated into the country. And we don't want the balkanization of the United States, which is what happened with the Yugoslav War, where you just have these groups that never assimilated into the country, and you end up having a war like they did back in the 90s. Serbia, Herzegovina, and Bosnia. You want people to kind of come into the fabric of America, and it has to be done in an orderly way.
Yeah, and like you said, there are laws, and it does take time. We welcome everybody.
Yes.
But you've got to go through the steps.
What about all those people that didn't do this, that waited their turn? Is that fair to those people that followed the rules? And the groups that rushed the border in that case, we don't know who they were. There have been a lot of instances of people that aren't from Central or South America coming over from Southwest Asia who could be terrorists, who don't have background checks.
A fact of the matter is, too, if there was a large ship that pulled up to a port in Australia and people just started filing off, they would get shoved right back on that ship probably, or something similar would happen because other countries have similar laws.
Exactly. And let me talk about the tear gas issue because they're making such a big deal that tear gas was used. Tear gas was used a lot more back in the 20, I want to say, and I did the research, and you could do it too, back in I think the 2010 to 2012 time frame when there was rushes at the border. So this administration is not the first to use tear gas. It was used,
I mentioned that, yeah.
It was used a lot more earlier when they had similar situations. You can't have people rushing the border. Imagine this is your house. Would you want people rushing your house like that?
And that's why we could talk about it all day. It's so important to find out what you're seeing, if it's true in the state, because there is so much that's put out there, and there are things that are manipulated, and
it's artificial news.
It is.
I won't say fake, but
there's
a lot of
we fight that.
We're not fake news, but some national media does seem to have an agenda, and does seem to want to push a narrative. So it's up to us as citizens, not just TV.
Just as a consumer of information, you've got to bring in as much as you can.
Research it.
And it's almost, you could strangle your brain. There's so much out there. But definitely, even if someone says, well, they're on the left or they're on the right, well, try to scoop up a little bit of both and try to figure it out.
Don't live in an echo chamber and listen to what you only want to hear.
So important. So important. Yes, because you can always find someone who agrees with you.
That's true.
I could say anything. Could say, elephants came from giraffes. And I'm sure I could find someone online that would agree with me on that. Well, I found somebody, so it must be true.
I thought you were leading up to another baby picture.
Oh, no, I know.
Because
I love it.
If you told,
can we do that all next week, just baby pictures?
We'll do that. That'll calm things down just a little bit.
Just to end on a lighter note, have you seen the Skittles commercial where the giraffe is eating the rainbow?
Is it cute?
And then there's the guy milking Skittles from underneath the giraffe. It's the funniest commercial. It's bizarre.
That's coming next week,
too, then.
On that note.
Sounds good.
Guys, thanks very much. And as always, thank you very much for stopping by and joining us for Anchors Away. We certainly hope you have a great week. We'll see you next week.